A trio of guards, lesser fiends identical to the menacing goat-hoofed creatures we'd seen on patrol several times, milled about. 2 sported heavy mail shirts and held beefy poleaxes topped with wicked curved axe heads, which looked equally well suited for blocking an incoming blade or goring an enemy, spilling ropes of intestine to the ground. I blanched at the thought of going up against those monsters, even if this was only a game. The 3rd guard lingered in the back, near the portal. Instead of mail, this one wore rough-stitched robes, a deep cowl drawn up around its inhuman visage. It held a short bronze dagger in one hand and a gnarled staff in the other. A spellcaster of one variety or other, then. As formidable as the 2 poleaxe-wielding creatures looked, I knew the sorcerer in the back was the biggest threat. If we could get to him, he'd probably go down quickly, but at a distance he'd lay down some serious firepower. Maybe literally if he had access to any flame skills.
"Ready for a brawl?"
Cutter whispered, his mouth inches from my ear.
"Can't we just sneak around them or something?"
I asked, quiet as I could manage. He squinted and rubbed at his chin.
"Nah, we need to take this lot. No way around it. So, how do you want to play it?"
I stared at the scene. With the heavy beds lining the walls, it would be awfully tough to slip past the poleaxe sentries and take out the caster first. Unless, of course, I caused a distraction, opening the way for Cutter to make a move.
"This is what I think we should do,"
I said, leaning into him and outlining my plan. He nodded along in agreement, but a seed of worry bloomed in my chest as I spoke, my eyes unwaveringly fixed on the lesser fiends in the next room. I sort of liked Cutter, but I didn't trust him, not even a little. My plan might work, but only if Cutter didn't leave me high and dry. And he might leave me high and dry. He'd said as much earlier on. I stamped down that doubt, because really there was no other way. He would come through for me, or he wouldn't. And if he didn't, well, I guess I'd find out what dying in Viridian Gate Online was like.
"Sound like a plan?"
I finally finished, an edge of uncertainty in my voice. He nodded, slipped a long, black-bladed dagger from a sheath at his waist, then shot me a wink as he crept forward, disappearing after he was a few feet away. I had to admit that stealth ability was pretty incredible. Because he was a friendly, a ghostly blue glow outlined his moving form, showing me his location, but that was all I saw. He angled right and padded in as close as he could get to the guards before slipping between a pair of heavy beds and shifting into a low crouch. Ready. Waiting. I took a deep, shuddering breath, readjusted my grip on the warhammer, then stole into the room, likewise cloaked in stealth. I inched closer to the guards, step by stressful step, whispering a silent prayer that this all went well. I was about 4 feet from the nearest guard when I saw the blurred form of Cutter stand. There was a subtle flash of movement, followed by the resounding clang of metal on stone. Both of the hulking mail-clad figures before me turned to investigate, only to find a cheap knife lying in the center of the room. Sleight of hand at its finest. I leapt forward while both guards had their backs turned, lashing out with the hammer, aiming right for the side of a misshapen skull. The heavy face of my weapon slammed into an unprotected temple, clipping the guard on the right with a sickening crack. I'd played a little baseball back in high school, and that crack sounded just like a Louisville slugger slamming into a well-placed fastball. The lesser fiend staggered left, a harsh bark escaping its throat as it dropped its poleaxe and groped at its head, trying to stem the sudden flood of rancid black blood. It looked badly wounded, but it wasn't dead, which is what I'd been hoping for.